afternoon and good evening. This is Ankush here from Alif Consulting. Welcome back in our partner enablement video series. So in the today's video, we're going to talk about how we can create an Active Directory domain service forest on Azure and how we can take the advantage of ADDS services and extend it to the across all the Microsoft clouds. Well, here is the agenda of this video. So we're going to talk about introduction of ADDS. We're going to talk about the forest configuration, what are the advantages, what are the use case, and then I will be going to basically walk through with a reference architecture, which is going to be one of the selling point, how exactly you can sell it to the customer, or what are the advantage at the end customer is going to be get. Key points, use case, key components, pricing, and the demo is going to be there in the with the reference architecture. Let's quickly move into the introduction. So Active Directory domain is a directory service that's run on the Windows server. It used for identity and the access management. ADDS store and the organization information about the people, devices, services connected to a network. ADDS service as a locator service for those objects and the way of organization to have a centralized point of administration for all the activity on the corporate network. Active Directory is used in the on-premise Windows environment and the Microsoft Azure ADDS is used in the cloud environment, Windows in the cloud-based Windows environment. They can be used together in the hybrid cloud. This is how your the forest configuration looks like. So you can have a multiple forest running in your organization, and those forests can be connected to each other by using the trust relationship. What are the advantages going to be? So it's going to be hierarchical structure. Flexibility is the one of the advantage, single point of access, and redundancy. Use case. Now this is going to be one of the interesting point or selling points for this service. So let's take an example. First of all, there is a customer who is having tons of users, but he is not using the Active Directory or the, I can say, or Azure AD, to manage their sign on. They are creating individual users there and giving them a username password to the login, which is not a best practice, right? Because that's where you need to manage the policy of every user one by one. That's where uh, Azure Active Directory domain service and Active Directory domain services come in place, can help you to create a sign in for Azure applications and services. That's where you will be going to have a single directory to manage the policy across all the users. Second, you can use them to manage your virtual machines, right? So if you don't have Active Directory running in your environment, it's going to be a problem for VMs to manage their identity and policy, right? So that's where Active Directory domain services can help you. Provide a directory service to your AD-aware workloads, single sign-in to the Office 365 and the other cloud applications, extend your on-premise AD to the Microsoft Cloud, and share your directory seamlessly, join virtual machine to a domain across the Azure account. So these are the use case. So as I told you, what is the selling point is going to be, let's take an example where customer is having a problem because he is managing the users one by one, right? That's where Azure Active Directory or Azure Active Directory domain services can come in place. If they really don't want to go into situation, they want to use the managed services. But if they want to manage the services, or they want to own that service or manage that service on their own, what they can do, they can use the Active Directory domain service on a virtual machine, which can give them an advantage of creating the users, managing the policies across the network, right? So these are the three services which can be there and can give them a single point of login for all the application, and all of these uh, Active Directory services can widely integrate with the multiple applications. So the Active Directory domain services can be integrated with all the applications like the dynamic SharePoint, which is basically supported with the LDAP authentication. But at the same time, if there's application who is supporting a SAML or URL based authentications, in that case you need to use the Azure Active Directory. This is how your reference architecture looks like. So you will see you have the Active Directory services running in your on-premise, and then you do have Active Directory services running on the Azure. Both of them are having a different domains, and they are basically connecting using the domain trust. This is in the reference architecture. Now, one of the cases they are going to be where customer don't want to have a two separate Active Directory. They want to have a single Active Directory which is running on their on-premise, and domain is abc.com. Let's take an example. And they want to extend the same domain across all your network in the Azure. So that's something you can do as well. So you can have your landing zone created. In that landing zone, you can deploy your Active Directory domain service, and that domain services can be extended or to across all the spokes which is there and connected with the hub network. Here are the key components. So on-premise network, Active Directory domain server, one-way trust relationship, Active Directory subnet, and the Azure Virtual Network Gateway. Now, if you really want to know much about Azure Network Gateway, Azure Virtual Network Gateway, you can there's a link in the description. You can go and learn more about that and have a deep dive about this service. So here are some of the cost considerations. So there is a cost consideration is going to be about the Active Directory domain service, right? So if you are having a Active Directory domain service as a shared service, that's consumed by the market worker to be a lower cost. So let's take an example. You have a 10 subscriptions, right? And if you don't have a landing zone, so what's going to be, you need to have a 10 domain controller deployed in the 10 subscription, which is going to be a issue, because ultimately you will be going to have a 10 servers to be managed. Second, the cost, because cost is going to be high. That's where a landing zone can be help you in that. You can deploy your landing zone, your Active Directory domain service can be deployed in the landing zone, and from there you can use two servers to manage all other services, so subscriptions, or the workloads or the environment which is connecting with the landing zone. Another one is Azure Virtual Network Gateway, which is the main component. That's because the virtual network gateway is basically connecting with the on-premise network and giving the authentication services or identity services to your on-premise applications as well. So you need to select your gateway accordingly, where you're going to get a required throughput and the redundancy. Let's move to no, let's move to the demo. So in the demo, I will be going to show you how you can install your Active Directory domain service. And for that, first of all, what we need to do, we need to create a virtual machine in the Azure portal, right? So in my case, I already have a virtual machine running. So let me refresh my page. So I do have one virtual machine here, but let me show you. This is running on the Azure portal, right? So you will be going to see there is a virtual machine deployed with the Alif demo AD name, right? So I am using this virtual machine to deploy the Active Directory domain services. I am already logged in the service to basically install the Active Directory domain service. What we need to do, we need to go into the server. We need to open the server manager and click on add role and feature. Click on next. Click on next. Select the server in which we want to on which we need to install the role, and then select the server role. So here you will be see you do have a multiple roles. So I am selecting the Active Directory domain service, and that's it. Click on next, and then you can select the feature, but we are not going to install any kind of feature. That's it. Click on next and install. That's it. So this is the process which is going to be install the Active Directory domain service on this server. But as soon as you install the Active Directory domain service, it doesn't mean that it will be going to be start work. You have to specify a few more configurations, like what is the domain name going to be, okay, what is the forest level or domain function level is going to be, and what is the NetBIOS name, what kind of where is your metadata going to be stored. So all of this configuration is basically you need to define post installation of Active Directory domain service on the server, and that will be something is part of our configurations. Let's wait for this r- ins- role to get completed, and we'll move forward to the configuration. I'm still taking a little bit of time here. Installation is basically still in progress, so we need to wait for get this installation completed. As soon as the installation is completed, we can move forward and configure the Active Directory domain services. Yep, that's it. So the installation has been completed. Now click on close, and you need to go in this notification. You will see promote this server as a domain controller. So you just need to click on it, and you need to specify what kind of deployment operation is going to be. Add a new domain in existing forest or add a new forest. So we're going to add a new forest. We need to define the name of domain. So let's take an example. It's going to be ibc.com. That's it, and you need to click on next. What is a forest function level and domain function level going to be? And then you need to define the DSRM recovery password, which will be going to be usable when there is the emergency recovery required for the domain controller. You just need to give you some time to configure the forest and domain function level in the configuration. Well, it's taking a little time here. Well, that's it. It's done. We need to basically define the password. We need to define what kind of DNS going to be. So by default, when you create your Active Directory domain service, it's automatically install or configure the AD integrated DNS service. So we don't need to do anything for the DNS related, since DNS is dependent. AD Active Directory domain service is dependent on the DNS. We need to define the what is the NetBIOS name going to be. Either we can use the pre-selected NetBIOS name, or we can basically use our own name for the NetBIOS name as well. And then the path where the metadata is going to be stored for this Active Directory domain services. By default, it's going to be in the NTDS for database and the log file and the sysvol for the policy application. But if you really want to change, this path can be changed. That's it. You need to review your configuration. Here you can see what are the configuration you have defined. And at this stage, if you really want to change anything, you can do it. But after that, you will not be able to change any of this configuration. That is, it's going to be run a pre-request check for the domain services configuration. If there's any issues, it's going to be give you the error here. That's it. So it's give you some of the errors which are okay. These are the things can be ignored. You can say all pre-checks has passed successfully. Now click on install. So as soon as you click on install, it's going to take a few minutes to get this installation completed. And post this installation is completed, you can join your client machine or the application, the domain controller, and can take the advantage of this domain controller login services. That's it. I hope you like this video. If you like, please click on like and subscribe for more upcoming videos. And if you need any help, please feel free to reach us. Thank you.